always had that something in you where you wanted to strive for better. So describe for me, what has your journey been like in life?
The journey it's been very hard because, I was on public assistance, so it was like, at first it was a boundary there. Anybody knows about public assistance, they only want you to go so far, or they're going to cut it off.
When you describe yourself now, tell me, who's Freddie Stevenson, the man that you are now?
A few years ago, I remember in college, they would always have speakers come in and ask us who we are. I wouldn't have been able to answer the question. It probably would have had something to do with football. I'm a fullback for Florida State. I want to play in the NFL. But now it's just simple. I'm Freddie Stevenson, man of purpose.
This is a passion of mine. The whole premise behind the Jazzie Conversations with Jazz podcast is to spotlight the fact that it is now time for you to get your dope comeback story.
Hey, say Jazzie Conversations with Jazz. Jazzie Conversations with Jazz. Say Jazzie Conversations with Jazz. Jazzie Conversations with Jazz.
Every Monday, I call people into a studio and we dig into their comeback stories, because I know that we see people in their glory and we see people when they're on top, when they can have that silver lining to them, but we all go through some things, right? We all go through some things, and I think once we're real with people and we let people know the trials and tribulations that we've gone through, it only makes us human and it connects one of us.
So I just want to know, what would be your advice to someone who is looking to start their own podcast?
First and foremost, let me back up. Find your voice. What are you going to talk about? Is it something that people want to listen to? How long will your podcast be? What's going to be the consistency of your podcast? Are you going to do it like weekly, daily? Are you going to do it monthly? So once you find that, because that's going to indicate if somebody wants to listen to your podcast or not. I do know how I'm doing it. I'm doing it with God. I'm doing it because this is a passion of mine. And when you are passionate about something, you're not going to stop. So it really it comes down to how bad do you want it. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 132 of the Jazzie Conversations with Jazz podcast. I am your host, Jazz Bennett, mother, educational leader. I am also a podcast and an event host. So if you are looking for a dynamic host for your next event, definitely reach out to me, book me at Jazzie, Jazzie, conversations with jazz at gmail.com. You just saw the opener for my 3-year podcast anniversary live show. Listen, it is going down on November 9th, 2024 in Lakeland, Florida, at The Well, which is located at 114 East Parker Street here in Lakeland, Florida, from noon to 5 p.m. If you want to come out and experience your very first podcast live show, this is the event for you, and you have a lot of time to plan for it. So I definitely want you in the building. Tickets are now on sale at eventbrite.com. I have some early bird tickets, and y'all know how those early bird tickets do not last long. So I'm going to suggest that you go and you get those tickets while they are still available. Like, do not even wait until tomorrow. Go and grab those tickets right now, today. But I know if you don't get those early bird tickets, I know that you will still support this podcast, this mission, this vision, and you will still be in the building on November 9th. It is going to be a day full of vendors, full of fun, excitement, entertainment. We're going to have a plethora of food trucks. We're going to have over 10 vendors in the building. We have a live DJ. And on this episode, I'm going to announce who my DJ is on the ones and twos, checking in live all day for the event. I have none other than your favorite Polk County female DJ, Miss DJ Ken Blaze, on the ones and twos. So she will be in the building providing all of our sounds to set the soundtrack for this amazing event. You know that my podcast celebrates the power of the comeback story. I believe that you can come back from everything with the formula. Three things: with God, the right resources, but knowing how to use those resources effectively, and your willingness to do the necessary work to get your comeback. So happy Monday again. I am excited for this episode. The guest that I have for today is not a stranger to the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast. She has definitely been, I'm going to call her, she's a reoccurring guest. Like, I met her when she did her Haines City, the children's Haines City, the Haines City Children's Literacy Festival about 2 years ago, and she has been going strong. And you know, she's been very supportive of what I do. I've been very supportive of what she does, but I just love her love for education, her love for literacy, her love for being a wife, for being a mother, and just for being a dope woman. Like, have you ever met those people that just exudes just power, and that just it exudes just phenomenalness? So I'm going to ask Whitney if you'll go ahead and turn your camera on. I'm going to put you right on the main stage because we want to bring you on. Hi, beautiful. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Listen, I'm doing dynamic. I'm doing fantastic today. I am very excited that, you know, I get to see you on the podcast again. It's like you are a part of my Jazzy crew. So you're like a family member at this
Yeah.
point in time.
Yes. Happy to be here for sure. Happy for sure.
Thank you so much. You know, I'm giving the viewers some background into how we met. And I love how, you know, from social media, just a kindred spirit can be found just in the means of being on social media. Like, that's
I
crazy.
know. Yeah, that is crazy.
Just
And we've
crazy,
been
just
stuck
bananas.
ever since.
Right, right. And so I listened to everything that we spoke about during that first episode, and I realized how wonderful you were during that first episode, but it's like it didn't stop there. You are evolving and you are under 40. I'm like, some days I just look at myself and I'm like, oh good Lord, like these all these people that you talk to are like under 40, like, and they are movers and shakers. But I just get so excited when you guys are doing all these wonderful things. And I'm like, happy dog, they haven't even hit 40 yet. So what does it
No.
feel like? Do you feel accomplished within yourself?
I don't know. Like it doesn't hit me until I actually tell people what I do, or like when people ask for my bio and I actually have to write it out, and it's like, oh, you've really done quite a bit. So it honestly doesn't hit me until those moments where I actually have to tell people about myself, or like I said, or if I have to write a bio. But other than that, I just go and I just do. And it doesn't really process until I actually have to write it down, or I see it, or I hear someone, introduce me for whatever reason. And it's kind of like, oh, you're doing quite a bit.
Talking about me.
Yeah.
Talking about me, all the fantastic things that I have going on. I was reading your bio before this show, and I want you to know, I don't have a collar on right now, but just pop your collar a little bit. Just introduce yourself, Miss Whit. Like, let the audience know who in fact you are, because I don't want to leave anything unturned.
So a brief snapshot. I am Whitney.
No. Mm-mm.
I can't give the brief version. Okay. Okay. So I am Whitney Sims. I am first a wife of Kendrick and mom of 4-year-old Kairo. I am an educator. I taught in the public school system for just over 10 years before I stepped out on faith and resigned from Polk County Schools in 2020 at the height of COVID. Had my son Kairo December 2019, and then COVID happened 3 months later. So we were locked in, and through being locked in, my first venture into stepping outside of the classroom was my YouTube channel, Sit With Whit. I just wanted to give students something to listen to as far as someone reading to them, because at that time, no one was going out, no one was going to libraries. So that was just an idea that came to my mind. And initially, I just sat on the floor in my son's nursery. He was about 3 months old at the time. And I would read stories to him. Or I'm sorry, just would read stories, record it, and just upload it from my phone to YouTube. Didn't think anything of it. And then there started to be like requests for more stories. So with my husband being a photographer, he had the cameras and all of the fancy stuff to make it look good. So we officially named it Sit With Whit, Storytime. And that was the first venture. And just to backtrack, before all of this even started in 2018, I just remember becoming or feeling like I was suffocating in the classroom. And it had nothing to do with the kids. I was, as some may say, like at the top of my game, nominated Teacher of the Year, highly effective. There was nothing from a professional level where it was just like, you got to go or you're fired. I was just feeling closed in, and it literally felt like I was suffocated in the classroom. So I remember when my kids were at specials, and specials is what we call like PE, math, PE, music, art. So the classroom was empty during that time. And I just remember putting my head on the desk and just praying, God, grant me the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children beyond the four walls of this classroom. Because I knew that there was more then. Just didn't know how. That was 2018. Nothing happened. Came back the following year to teach, and Kairo came in 2019. So he was, or he is, what catapulted everything else. So it started out with me just reading stories for him. Then the idea came to read stories and record myself for other kids. That was Sit With Whit. The second thing was looking for stories that featured Black and brown characters that taught about manners, how to be courteous. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please. Thank you. Didn't find them with Black and brown characters. So I wrote one, and it was called The Little Gentleman. And it featured characters in the likeness of Kairo and Kendrick. So I self-published that in 2021. And then after that came about 20 plus workbooks. I kind of learned Canva and how to create workbooks and things like that. Because again, I just wanted to create those other resources that families could use at home for additional practice, or even just from the homeschool point of view, just to give something for the littles, because a lot of the resources are for older kids. So self-published I would say about 22, 23 workbooks, coloring books. And then my second children's book called ABCD, Which Career Is For Me. And in that children's book, it just highlighted careers that not many people talk about. So like for the letter W, it featured a welder. For the letter R, it featured a realtor or a real estate agent. So that was the second children's book. And then the idea came to highlight more authors in our area, in Polk County and Haines City, because there weren't events that were happening like that. So I reached out to then Mayor Ann Huffman at the time about hosting what we called an Authors Expo. And that was November 2021, where I hosted the Haines City Authors Expo at Lake Eva. And from there, I connected with her again about my vision for wanting to do the Children's Literacy Festival. And that was birthed 2023. And it feels like it's been 3 years, but it's only been 2. And then we just had the other festival this past March, where we had Jack Hartman, and I was fangirling because everybody loves Jack Hartman. So yeah.
Everybody became a kid again. All the parents are like more kids than the kids.
Everybody was doing the tootie tie. It was like moving kids out of the way, just doing the tootie tie. Everybody loved Jack Hartman. So that was awesome. And yeah, just been doing things for children, for families, homeschooling families. a recent venture is launching my online preschool, Word Wonders Online Academy for ages 3 to 5 years old. And our fall class actually starts tomorrow. So
Yay.
the babies again. And the more recent it would be see what I'm saying? Now that I'm
Uh-huh.
actually verbalizing everything, it's like, girl,
Uh-huh.
take a nap. Uh,
Yep.
so the more recent is I was recently selected as the franchisee for the WonderHere small private school or micro school franchise to be located in Davenport. There are two other locations, the founding location, which is in Lakeland, and then there's one in Anderson, South Carolina. So this will be the third location. So that's what we're working on. And
And
now
it
I can
will
breathe.
be the third
It
location.
will be the third location.
Listen, that's why I was like, I don't want you to cut corners. I don't want you to cut anything about your bio
Yeah.
because you're too dynamic. And I'm a firm believer that we never know how far our reach will go. And I truly believe that you are going to reach someone not only with this episode, but with everything that you do that will inspire the next woman to who's a mother,
Yeah.
who's afraid to leave out of the classroom, but they have like this burning desire to do something that
Yeah.
they're passionate about. Whit, you are the prime example of someone who can give encouragement to that person. And so I didn't want you to shortchange yourself.
Yeah.
If I ever introduce you again, I'm gonna be like, don't come with that short stuff. Unless we're under a time constraint or something like that. But other than that, I think that your the gifts that God has given you, the talents, all of the accolades, I just think that they are worthy of celebration. They're worthy of praise. And I love to see what you're doing because you are such an impactful person in the community. Just from the little bit that I've been seeing, I believe in everything that you are doing. And so thank you again for being my guest for the second time around. This is episode 132. Goodness.
Look, you 132. Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing in itself.
I'm like, we are getting it. We are
Yeah.
definitely getting it. And so
Right.
you said that the first day of school for your homeschool is going to be on tomorrow. And so tell me about the biggest difference thus far that you see from offering a homeschooling education versus being in the classroom. What's so different about it?
I think the biggest difference is just the creative freedom. It's not necessarily something where in most public school settings you're teaching to a test or you're teaching to a given standard
Yeah.
without knowing the type of student or the type of child that you are interacting with.
Mhm.
Um, Versus with homeschool, I can get to know the kids, I can learn their interests, I can implement it into the curriculum. It's a smaller setting. I purposely capped my registration at 20 students
Okay.
because I wanted that familiarity with them just to learn me and for me to learn them, to learn their
Mhm.
families, their interests. So that's another difference between the homeschool side and versus public school. And probably the biggest is just that creative freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy the most.
Yeah. When I think about homeschooling, it's easier for me to fathom a homeschool dynamic that is with kids who are already in elementary school or middle school or high school.
Mm.
But when I saw that you have a preschool, I'm like, oh, never have I ever thought about that. And so the parents that
Yeah.
come to you to seek your help with that, what does that
Mhm.
model look like for them? Are they have to be parents that stay home with their kids? Because
Yeah.
I've just in my brain is like, okay, like making sure that my child is at the computer and they're listening to
Mhm.
Miss Witt. And like, what does that look like for a parent?
Yeah, well, most of them are either sitting like right next to them. Some of them are actually working from home, so they'll put them in front of the screen, and they may be working, in an adjacent room or something. But
Yeah.
parents are always there, and When a lot of people hear that it's an online preschool, they're thinking that the kids are like sitting in front of the computer all day. These are preschoolers. They cannot do that. So
Right.
our lessons are only 30 minutes. So they're only with me for 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
And through the program, I'm able to offer them additional videos because the program that I went through, the preschool system, they have licenses. And what's included in your tuition is like enrichment videos. So if they want to learn Spanish, there's Spanish videos. If they want to do music and movement, if they want
Yeah.
to have additional practice on math, because Word Wonders is primarily reading rich. The main objective is for them to become fluent readers by or before they get to kindergarten. So a lot of my time with them is phonemic awareness, it's phonics, it's that the reading rich curriculum that's being taught. So they're not with me all day long. It's only for 30 minutes. I have
Okay.
two different groups. I have a Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 10:30, and then I
Hmm.
have a Tuesday, Thursday, 6 to 6:30. Because
Okay.
even though it is primarily homeschool, I have had quite a few parents whose children are in public school, but they still want the enrichment from
Yeah.
Word Wonders. So they work the typical 9 to 5. So I
Mhm.
wanted to give that option for them to be able to still be able to participate in Word Wonders that's at a time for them.
Awesome. And I think that what I'm starting to see are similarities, like parallels, when it comes to this idea of enrichments. Like my entire position was created based off of affording our middle school kids the opportunity to get and receive enrichments. And just like you, like I left Polk County Public Schools, but this with this opportunity, I'm like, oh my gosh! Like I read the description of the job, and I was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. Like, and I get free range. Like I basically
Yeah.
create what I'm doing. And then with the kids, I get like, it's so unlimited and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so freeing. And
Exactly.
that was my main attractor
Mhm.
as well. And so give me some success stories when it comes to things that you see, things that you saw because you got to see your greatness through Kairo with you being so hands-on with him. How do you
Yeah.
see his development kind of edging over the students that you traditionally taught in a public school setting? Like how do they compare?
Oh, wow. It's a huge difference because it doesn't take that long to teach the little ones.
Yeah.
And I saw someone recently post that since they started homeschooling, they don't understand why school is 8 hours long because it just does not take that long.
Yeah.
And just being able to work with him on a consistent basis um, has definitely showed way more growth because when I'm the teacher in the classroom,
Hmm.
that's probably it for some of the students when they go home. They're probably
Yeah.
not, doing the additional practice or, or reading or things like that. Versus when Cairo's home with me,
Hmm.
it's consistent. And
Yeah.
through that, even at the age of 4, even though he's a part of Word Wonders, I call him my helper.
Yeah.
He'll be starting our quote unquote homeschool uh, semester at a second grade level, and he's 4.
Goodness. That's
Exactly.
amazing.
But it's not anything where it was just like magic. It's just
Right.
consistency. And I didn't work with him no more than about 30 minutes with reading and math and just reading to him and just exposing him to his interests. He loves music. So we have him in, drum lessons and things like that. So it's a huge difference just with the accessibility that Cairo has to me versus what I had to my students.
Yeah. I saw a shirt today and it was probably maybe like 2 hours before this episode aired. Like I think you know how I think you know how the phone just be kind of spying on us and all of that good
Mhm.
stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
so
We talk about that all the time.
all
Yes.
the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it just read my mind. It knows me
Mhm.
so well. And so in the spirit of it doing that, there was a t-shirt company that came across my timeline, and you know how they have all of the educator shirts, whether you're a guidance
Mhm.
counselor, a school counselor, or what have you. And there was this one particular shirt that did a word take off of our Pledge of Allegiance. And it said, with literacy and freedom for all. And I just thought, no, it said with literacy and justice for all is what it said. And I immediately thought about you, and I was like, how apropos that this shirt just came. It's like, I want to get this shirt for Whit
Girl,
because
you
she
see
it's so
that?
cute. I'm gonna have to text it to you after this episode.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it was such a cute shirt, and I thought about it. I thought about the thing. Like there's so many students, like I know for you as well, that just stick out, that are these success stories. And it all occurs because there was a concerted effort, an intentional effort
Mhm.
to make sure that the child was strong with literacy.
Mhm.
And if parents would simply just understand the importance of literacy, like if you just start there with components of literacy, like your
Yeah.
children, like just 20 minutes a day, like the research is still backed, it's still scientifically based,
Mhm.
educationally sound.
Mhm.
It's still prominent to this day that if a child reads for 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes a day,
Mhm.
when they go to take these standardized tests that they may have to take, they're going to score in the 90th and above percentile, just
Mhm.
off of that, just off of them
Right.
reading
Right.
for that time. They're
Mhm.
sponges at that age. Like, and don't think
Mhm.
your child is too young, because they even tell mothers to read to the babies in the womb.
No,
Like, all of this
exactly.
is
Mhm.
research based. And so
Yeah.
my my success story with the student, I will never forget the student. His name was Charlie. I had him as a fourth grade student.
Mhm.
And he came to me reading on a first grade level, and it absolutely broke my heart. You know, it broke my heart. And me being a parent and being such a busy parent, I
Mhm.
give this mother like 100 times the kudos that I gave her when I
Mhm.
actually had her son in my class, because this mother, they were a low income family. But I gave her those statistics, and it's almost like a light bulb went off in her head. Like,
Mhm.
because she wanted the information, because she just wanted to do whatever she could for her child to be successful. And I probably shared the story with you our first episode, but
Yeah.
I carry him in my heart. Like,
Yeah.
Charlie is out of college right now.
Wow.
Um, he is
Wow.
he's out of college right now. Like, that's how
Mhm.
long ago I had him in my class, but he just stays in my heart. So, but this mother was very intentional. I gave her a packet of information with data, with everything,
Mhm.
and she used to walk him to a library close to their house every day. And they used to
Oh.
read for 20 minutes. And it's like, all of a sudden, I started to see his scores just go like up, 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 up,
Yeah.
up. And oh my gosh, by the time he left my classroom, he was on a sixth grade reading level. And Charlie
That's
scored like a four
great.
on FCAT when they still had FCAT back then. And I was
Mhm.
just like, oh my God, Jesus. Like, this was the first time that it stood out to me. Like, you
Yeah.
had a low performing student, first grade reading level, coming into fourth grade, and he left my class on a sixth grade reading level. And that just took the effort of me. But that parent, oh my gosh, how critical the
Yep.
parents are when they say you are your child's first teacher, you're your child's everlasting teacher.
Mhm.
Just please believe that. And
Yeah.
I just, like, do you have your son is a success story, but outside of your son, like, do you still carry like those stories in your brain where it's like, wow, like I did see the magic and the power of just something as simple as literacy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even
Yeah.
in my classroom when I was teaching kindergarten at the time, at a Title I school, I had one student who came in, which is very often, who knew no
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
And it just broke my heart because she would have like breakdowns where out of
Yeah.
frustration because she didn't understand what I was saying.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of modeling, a lot of pictures, a lot of patience, and just working with her and just reading and those labels,
Yep.
labels,
Yeah.
labeling room, labeling those pictures, allowing her to make the connections from the pictures to the words, and things like that. She left out of my classroom reading on a second grade level. She was ready. She was second grade. She scored, was it star? Is it star?
Yeah. Yep.
Star. Yeah, star reading and math.
Renaissance.
She was listen. I used to have nightmares about those scores. Green, red, yellow. Who's
Listen,
green, who's in the
my
red?
gosh.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, she
Yeah.
left on a second grade level. She scored
Yeah.
at level 2. So that was probably the biggest for me, because she literally came in a blank slate. And I felt so bad for her, because you can imagine not just starting kindergarten, you know, alone is a stressor, because she hadn't been in any type of classroom prior to coming to me. So she's in a new country, in school, with a black lady who she's probably never seen. So I just felt so bad for her. She did an amazing job. She was writing and speaking. Her speech wasn't as great, but she was still, you know, retaining a lot more information than she did when she first started with me.
Yeah. Those stories will like forever live with us. And it's just, it's a blessing to be an educator, because when they say that not everybody can do it, not everybody can do it. And I just really want people to hone in on that. Your heart definitely has to be in it, but your heart has to be met with you knowing the strategy. So you have to be well trained, and you just have to, you know, you really want to do it. You know, it's bigger than a paycheck. But we appreciate a good paycheck, because we have families that we have to feed as well. And one of the things, when I was in the classroom, I used to always just want to be able to give a Miss Bennett to just more than the kids, the 18 or so kids that were in my class. And so I started trying to do things outside in the community. So that's another reason why I was so attracted to what you were doing visibly in the community, because I was like, okay, yeah, she definitely has a heart for what she's doing. And so talk to me about the fruits of your labor with the Children's Haines City Literacy Festival. Like, tell me how it's growing, because I know it's going to grow again exponentially next year. But tell me how you've seen the fruits of your labor thus far.
Well, I received that growth. I received that. And just the connections in general, with the people that I've met, like, I mean, you, and just people I've reached out to, other vendors, businesses, the connections I've made with them, to the point to where if they know that there's an event or something that I'm putting on, they're like, because it's you, we're in. And so I've definitely gained, and I'm grateful for the favor that the Literacy Festival has brought, in regards to the connections that have been made. The number jumped tremendously from the first year to the second year, which I'm grateful for. I remember we had Books Bridge Bus again this past year in March, and I went on the bus just to check in on them to see how everything was doing, and they were sitting there like exhausted. It was like, we've had so many kids, and I think she said they clocked like 308 kids who came in to get a free book.
Wow.
Kids. And they just look like, I don't know if you've like seen where somebody's just like like exhausted, but like I offered them water. I was like, "Are you okay?" And we're just tired. She was like, "As soon as we go to sit down, another kid comes on the bus."
Right.
So, just moments like that just makes me happy. Like that alone just made my day, because that was the purpose of the entire festival, is to get kids reading and enjoying reading and giving them access to books and, you know, resources like that. That's definitely been the best part, as far as enjoying the fruits of my labor, just seeing the numbers.
I mean, you brought out Jack Hartman, for God's sakes. Like, when I said, when has Jack freaking Hartman? Like, this place is about to go bananas. And it actually did. Like, oh my gosh, the joy of those babies and the joy of the parents. It was like none other. Like, really.
And it was so crazy, because that's why you have to it's important to watch what
Yeah.
you say and make
Yes.
sure you speak with intent. Because the year before there was an event in Lakeland.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what it was called, but it was a book event.
Okay.
And he was there. And the whole reason I was like, okay, we can take Kairo, but I'm going to see Jack Harvin. So, so we
Yes.
get there. He's there, he's cool and everything. And so I left and I
Yeah.
told my husband, I was like, I want to get Jack Hartman to the Literacy Festival. And I was like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but we're going to get Jack Hartman to the Literacy.
Yep.
So, of course, I did my digging, I did my research, and then I found out he was in Florida. I said, oh, snap.
Yep.
He lives in Florida. So I got in contact with his people, and it was the smoothest process.
Wow.
And yeah, it
Wow.
was the smoothest process. And for us to be able to bring him out almost a year to the date to when I said I wanted him to come, that completely made my day, made my year.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen. I think it made a whole lot of people's year. Listen, that's that God, the
Absolutely.
resources,
Mhm.
knowing how to use them effectively,
Knowing
but
how to
doing the
use 'em.
work to get it. Like that's how it goes. Like that really is how it goes. And he was so dope. Like he was just so fun. He
And
was
so
so
down to
fun.
earth. Yeah. So down to earth. So down to earth. And he even
He really
complimented
was.
you guys, you, Chandra, and Lily. He complimented all of you. He was like, they're awesome.
Oh,
Love the energy, and he said the positivity, and to find out that you are all active in the community and educators
yeah.
as well. That really, because he's a former educator.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was just happy to know that, or happy to see that there were other educators that were doing things outside of the classroom. So he
Yeah.
definitely he complimented you ladies
That's
often.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that. I love that. And I know that it's gonna just have that feeling of excitement when it comes around again. And then you didn't just stop there because my gosh, a transformer ended up emerging. You had an outer space transformer come to Earth for the Literacy Festival as well. I said, when? You just got everybody just making an appearance.
They're coming. They're
Just out of
coming.
this world stuff going on.
And look, it was like after it was done, I was like, wait, we got to keep going higher and higher. Like, what is gonna happen next year? I was like, oh God. I was like, Lord,
Yeah.
every round goes higher and higher.
And it does. And it
go.
is. Like I get so excited about that. And personally, like here at the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast, like I've even, vetted some guests from the Literacy Festival, which has been amazing connections, for me as well. Like I was so elated to see one of my former teachers. And, when I was her assistant principal, like it's some teachers that just stay with you because it's like, my God, like I did all this work. And I know that if it would have come from the top, down into the classrooms, it would have worked. And I saw it work in her classroom. And that was Miss Tanya Kite. And to see her with her micro school, like that was her first vending opportunity at your literacy festival. And that girl has a building now. So I'm just like, girl,
so
you are causing some high effect changes in our community. And I feel like you should be acknowledged, celebrated for that, given your kudos, because what you've done, when we create these events that come to us that we pray about and it's within our purpose, I know for a fact that God just uses it as an epicenter for people to see how he works, but also for them to venture off and to make their dreams come true as well. So that's exactly what you're doing, like with the model from your YouTube channels to, your online preschool that you have, to the literacy festival that you have, the books that you've given kids, our Black and brown kids. They get to see someone that looks like them in a book, and how you honored your husband, like, because men need to feel that as well. Like they need to feel that there's some superheroes and just great parents as well. You're really doing a thing. And so Miss Mompreneur 2024. Listen, how does that feel to have that title? Because it's like, oh my gosh, being a mom and then being an entrepreneur, and then they actually have a title out there.
Yes.
for women who are doing the dang on thing, and you happen to be crowned that title. Like, what was that experience like?
It happened right after the literacy festival. Someone that I met who came down from, I believe it was Sanford. I remember she came from Seminole County. And we linked
Okay.
up at the Authors Expo that I hosted. And she drove the furthest. Well, her and my
Oh,
aunt
wow.
came down and they drove from Sanford. So that was
Wow.
an hour and a half. So I met her through the
Mhm.
Authors Expo. And we would chat every now and then, but it wasn't anything where it was like consistent. So
Yeah.
that phrase, you never know who's watching, is very valid because I did not know. So she reached out right after the festival and said that she had
Mhm.
nominated me for Miss Mompreneur 2024. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. What is it?
All right.
So I went on the website and I read up about it. And I had heard about Miss Corporate America because
Yeah.
someone that I know won Miss Corporate America last year,
Okay.
or it might have been the year prior. So I was like, okay. And then I read up on what Miss Mompreneur was, and everything that I needed to do, the criteria and things like that. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. I matched.
Yeah.
That fit the bill.
Yeah.
So I filled out the application. And then I had to do an interview process. And about 2, maybe 3 weeks later, they told me that I won. So yeah,
That's
I
dope.
have the crowning ceremony next month.
Okay.
The official crowning ceremony next month, and yeah, it's just doing my duties, continuing doing the service in the communities, and
Yeah.
all these things with
That's
that
amazing.
title now.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
Do you have
it's
to do anything like in the community? Like, do they have it where it's a stipulation where you have to make appearances or anything?
mhm. Yeah, I
Okay.
have to, I believe it was minimum 12. And it can be of my choice. I have I want to call her leader. I would just say an advisor, who pretty much just says, these events are happening. If
Yeah.
you're available, we'd love to have you out to appear as Miss
Mhm.
Mompreneur, or even things like this count. Me just speaking, I'm on
Yeah.
platforms about homeschooling, about my business, about being a mom. Um, Also volunteer opportunities. So just things where I just have to get myself out there and speak more in the community. So
Yeah.
it's it's been fun.
It's
It's
been
been
fun.
it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And
So
it's, I
you are
still haven't processed it. Like we just
right.
took the pictures like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I'm holding a crown. Like, okay, what do I do with this? Like a
Listen, you
statue. What do
wear
I do?
it. Listen, you wear it.
Yeah.
And then your
Yes,
husband took like the most amazing photos of you. I'm
yes.
like, yes. Come on, teamwork.
And that's been a blessing because when she initially told me that I had to take
Yeah.
my official photos, I wasn't going to say anything. But then we just started talking, and I was like, "Yeah, my husband is a photographer," and she was like, "Well, would you like for him to do your official photos?" And I was like, "Yes, of course, I would love for him to do my photos." So, yeah, and even from that connection,
Yeah.
with him doing or her asking for
Mhm.
my photos through him, she has a wedding coming up.
See?
So exactly. So she said she wanted his info, and from there we'll see if she books or not. But even that was just a sign of
Yeah.
like the different connections that
Yeah.
that is orchestrating just through me and my obedience, even
Yeah.
through fear, because I definitely
Listen.
feared this whole Miss Mompreneur thing because a lot of what I do is from my phone or from my laptop. I'm not
Yeah.
a talker. And a lot of people think just because you're a teacher, you're just born to talk. No, I'm an introvert. I prefer not to talk and just let my work speak for me. But in this season, I'm
In this
noticing
season.
that I have to do a lot more talking.
Yes. And we're loving it. We're loving for we but we want to get all of the nuggets and all of the knowledge. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing. I think
Yeah.
that's an amazing thing. I
Mhm.
when you share your latest venture that, tell me if is the deal there or are you still raising funds to
Mhm.
have the third location in Davenport? Like tell me how all of that works.
Yeah, so and it's so funny because initially I was looking for a micro school for Kairo. Because I was
Okay.
looking for enrichment programs, but there was nothing like that here in the Haines City, Davenport area. Just
Yeah.
like with the children's book, there was nothing that I could find.
And then
And
God
then
said,
and so I was doing my research and I found WonderHere. I was reading up on them because I'm a researcher. I'm watching videos, I'm reading reviews, I'm looking at pictures, I'm
yeah,
reading bios and everything that has to do with the program. So I came upon WonderHere and I was like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I love WonderHere. But then I found out where they were. They were in downtown Lakeland, which was just too far.
yeah.
So earlier in the year, they did a post saying that they were doing a city search. They were looking for another location. They had just found just launched the South Carolina location. And they
Okay.
were getting all set up and things like that. So I was like,
Yeah.
So I posted under their post. I said, "Well, is Davenport, too close because they're in Lakeland?" So I didn't
They're in
know if
Lakeland, yeah.
there was an issue with it being too close. And she was like, "No, of course not. Go ahead and give it a shot." So I was like, "Okay." That fear started sitting in again, and I was like, "Okay, should I do this or not?" I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "We just go for it." So I filled out the application,
Yeah.
did the interview. I did a walkthrough with them on their campus. And not even 2 days later, they were like, "Guess what?"
Ooh.
Guess what? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm now the franchisee for the Davenport location. We are in the funding stage. There are different
Yes.
stages, so we're in funding.
Yeah.
And it's a 10K plus 10K match. We already have the Vela. I can't remember the name of the grant, but it's 10K, and I
Okay.
just have to match it with my 10K. And then from there, that's when we move into the location and all of the things. If there's
Mhm.
any necessary renovations or updates that are needed to the building and those things, then that's what happens. But prayerfully,
Yeah.
they're looking to launch or open August 2025.
That is amazing. That's
It's
amazing.
it is great.
Because I feel like there's somebody I know that there's going to be somebody that's watching this episode that they can write you a $10,000 check. They
Yes.
can get it off the hands and just write it off like in
Yeah.
the name of Jesus. And
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
do know that you are having some fundraisers, and so I think Ovation
Yeah.
Bistro has jumped on board
They
every Monday, which
did.
is my favorite day of the week.
Yeah.
Tell us how what's going on with Mondays at Ovation.
So that was another leap of faith, just like, girl, just
Yeah.
do it. Like, even with the gut wrenching feeling like, oh, you have to talk to people, you have
Yeah.
to put yourself
You
out
gotta
there, you have
talk
to
with.
talk
You
about the
gotta talk.
program, you gotta talk about what you're doing, you have to talk about the cause. You actually have to
Yeah.
have a conversation with these people. So I reached out to Ovation. I just had like a list of restaurants in the area that I was just checking off and just
Yeah.
taking that leap. So I called Ovation, and the
Yeah.
manager at the time said that the owner wasn't there for me to email. So I sent the email with the cause, and initially I had only requested for one day out of the month just to do like a big fundraising
Yeah.
night, and then a percentage of the proceeds would go towards WonderHere. Not even an hour later, the manager reached back out and said, "Hey, the owner is on board, and not only do you have one location, but you have all of the Ovations in Polk, as well as
Wow.
the I believe it was called Social on Cypress,
Okay.
is another restaurant that they have, and she
Hmm.
said that you can have that one as well." And every Monday for the month of September, not just one day, every Monday for the month of September, all Ovation locations, as well as the Social on Cypress, whatever funds are raised that night or that day, a percentage of it will go towards WonderHere. Yeah.
So we're going to Ovation.
So what it was so funny, one of my friends, her name was Dina, she sent me a picture. She was like, "Wings for Wit," hashtag Wings for Wit, and
I
with
love that.
a bag from Ovation that she had gone. I was like, "I'll take it."
I
I'll
love
take
that.
it. I'll take it. So yeah, I've just been making those phone calls, and it's definitely been in Ephesians 3:20. That's been something that's just been my foundational scripture from.
Ephesians 3:20. Is that what you said?
Now
What does it
unto
say?
him who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that you can ask or think.
Oh,
And
girl.
it's been surpassing every expectation that I've had. I mean,
Mm,
even down to like as just recently, me only requesting one night for this restaurant, and they gave me all of their locations in addition to another restaurant of theirs. So just moments like that. I reached out to Red
yeah.
Robin, same thing.
Yeah.
The manager wasn't, or the owner wasn't there at the time. He ended up calling me right back. He was in his car because he had heard about the fundraiser.
Yeah.
And he said he wanted to get back with me because the server, or not the server, the manager of the restaurant called him and let him know about the partnership that we wanted. And he was like, I had to talk to you. He was like, of course we'll do it. And he just told me usually they want you to do it Monday through Thursday because, of course,
Mhm.
Friday through Sunday, it's, I guess, their busiest or
Yeah.
for whatever reasons, but he's opening up his Fridays. So he's letting me know, he asked me to let him know a Friday of my choice. And from there, that night, we receive, I believe it was 20% of the proceeds that are made from that night. So I just have to
Yeah.
get back with him on an actual date. And even then, he was just so excited. He was like, we'll even come to the ribbon cutting. We'll bring our mascot. It'll be just a fun day. And none of that. I was like, do it, God.
That's amazing. Just do it, God. Wait, do you realize that you are inspiring me right now? Do you realize that you about to make me want to go in the prayer closet right now?
Do
Be
it.
like, do it, Jesus.
Do it. That's what I said
Please sell
many
out this
nights.
3-year podcast anniversary live show. You already said you're gonna do it, but I believe it. I believe it.
Do it. Just do it.
Girl,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is
I've been doing
amazing.
that Ephesians 3:20 and hashtag move scared. Like I'm terrified, but I'm still gonna do it
You're
anyway.
gonna do it scared.
Because
Yeah.
look at what's happening as a result of
Yeah.
moving scared. So
Listen,
I'm
I'm
moving
telling you,
scared.
like if you look, I know y'all are catching this replay. If you catch the replay of this episode, hit replay and just hit faith because honestly, hit hashtag do it scared. Like that's how I know you will be listening, right? Like
Yeah.
hashtag Mondays, hashtag wings with wit at
Wings of
Ovation.
Wit.
Listen.
Let's go.
Please make sure you go to Ovation on
Yeah.
Mondays to make sure that you support, Whitney and her efforts. Go to Red Robin, Monday through Thursday, but she's gonna get a Friday as well. Like
Yeah.
what you are doing amazing things. Like yeah, you one of God's favorites. We hear you. You one of God's favorites is basically what you're saying in this episode.
Tell anybody
Don't tell
else.
nobody. Yes. Listen. So you like me, like you have a business and it's no one around, like it's you, right? Like you're the educator, all things revolve around you. So talk to
Mhm.
me about your team. Like who's part of your team? Or how many team members do you have?
With the preschool, I was able to bring on Lisa Gibbs. I love her, absolutely love her. She is my ESE strategist and
Okay.
IEP. She's an IEP advocate also. So I thought it was important to bring her on board, especially with my 3 to 5 year olds, because
Yeah.
she meets with them once a week and she coaches parents on how to advocate for their child, whether they
Yeah.
be homeschool or even in the classroom.
That's
So
awesome.
she's an awesome asset to Word Wonders. And like I said, she meets with
Yeah.
my kids once a week, with our families once a week on Thursdays, 6 to 6:30. So if they have any questions, if they're going
Mhm.
through any issues, even now that school has started, she's still that resource to some of the kids who
Yeah.
started school that aren't participating in Word Wonders because they're back in school. Then she's just that added resource. So in
Good.
regards to Word Wonders, I have her,
Yeah.
and my team consists of me, and with and with photos, I have my husband
I know
who does
that's right.
photos and videos. I create the flyers.
I know that's
I,
right.
so now, even though I would love to delegate, I'm praying for that team to come because there's a lot happening. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I am just one person. I am wife first, mom first. So I want to get to the point to
Yeah.
where I'm able to delegate, and it still runs as if it was just me running it.
Absolutely.
But for right now, it's me, myself, and I.
So y'all leave us alone. That's why I brought that question up. Y'all leave us alone. Like we're trying. Like we are we are trying. Okay. So look, because I know like people tell me all the time, like Jazz, you just can't do it by yourself. I get it. Like I get it. I just have to, I gotta get the right team. Like I'm not
Right.
opposed to it, but for right now, it
Mhm.
is me. I'm like you said, the flyers, the whatever, but we get it. Like, look
Yeah.
at how dynamic Wit is. God ain't through with her. Like God, like she may get a team from this episode. She may get a team from other things
That.
that she's doing. But listen, God knows our prayers. Just like
Yeah.
he sent that man to Wit, and he gonna send that man to me. He gonna send us a team. He gonna send us the right team. You just like we
Oh,
gotta have
yeah.
the right man, gotta
That's
have the right
right.
team.
That's right. You gotta say it. Amen.
That is hilarious. I just thought I just throw that little tidbit in there, like, we coming. We gonna get a team. But as
Good.
for right now, it is God and
Too.
us.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready for that team.
Listen,
I'm ready for that team. But
just
I
ready
know
for it.
it'll happen in due time. It
Yes,
will.
and it will, and it will. I want to say, I definitely before we get out of here, you have a huge story. Like it's nothing that's light, right? Like you're not light work at all. Like I don't see it being that way.
Yeah.
But you have persevered through, you went through COVID, you
Mhm.
kept your eye on the prize of the things that you really wanted to do. And God saw fit to open up these avenues that kept you within your passion and within something that he knew that you were going to be able to excel at. You just gave him, you know, your prayer that you were believing in him, that you had faith and you were ready to go, and he provided, for you when you put in those good works. And so I know that there's always, because even sometimes I'm like this, like, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe God, but I'm scared. I believe, but I'm scared.
Oh
I believe, I
yeah.
believe, I believe, I'm
Oh
scared, I'm scared. I don't know how
yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these episodes that I do, when we talk about the power of the comeback, like that formula is so near and dear to me. But people like you are just living examples of just trusting God. Just do that. And
Mhm.
then get you your right resources. You do your research and then you use those resources effectively. But you
Right.
have to be willing to put in the work to make it happen. So it's
Mhm.
not like it's going to just fall in your lap. Like I know you didn't hear any of that from Wit. She had to do things. She had to position herself in
Yeah.
those spaces, in those places to make it happen. And just look at what path she's on. And it's an amazing path. And so I just want you to, those of you looking, those of you listening and wondering why hasn't it happened for me? Or is it going to happen for me? Yes, it is. But you have to be
Yeah.
very faithful. You have to pray about that thing. You have to be very serious to be able to work for it. This
Mhm.
journey started for her. She's been in the education field for a while, but
Wow.
2020 was when she was put to the test. And it's like, all
Right.
right, Whit, it's time for you to show me
Yeah.
that you're walking by faith. Like, even though you
Oh
don't like
yeah.
to talk, even though you're fearful, you got to
Yeah.
show me what you got. And she
Yeah.
did. She did just that. So I've done the talking to talk her up to say something. What would you leave the audience with? What do you want to leave the audience with? Like after listening to your story, after the
Mhm.
things that you want to do, what would you say to someone who's kind of afraid to jump?
Move. Move
Move.
scared. Yeah. Yeah. Because you have that feeling in your gut. Most would say it's discernment. But most of the time it's just your emotions or your fears getting in the way. So at the end of the day, it's just which one are you going to allow to consume your
Yeah.
life? Will it be fear or will it be persevering? Um, and also, if you want to stay where you are, don't do anything.
Yeah.
Won't do it.
That's a guaranteed thing. But that's a guaranteed outcome.
That's a guaranteed outcome. But if you
Yeah,
know that there's more to your life, more to your story, at some point you have to do things that you've never done to get outcomes you've never had.
yeah,
So I would definitely say the theme of my life was just to move scared. That's all
yeah.
I can move scared.
Absolutely. And that's incredible advice. So I hope that we will be able to hear and see some stories of people moving by faith, even if you
Yeah.
are scared. Replay this episode, link with Wit. Definitely support her in all of her efforts. How can people, follow you? How can they support you? We'll leave on that because we want to get you in position.
So, on YouTube, you could please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sit With Whit, Storytime. If you're looking to enroll your preschooler into Word Wonders Online Academy, that website is wordwondersonline.com.
Okay.
If
Word
you would love to
Wonders
follow us on
Online.com.
social media, it's also Word Wonders Online Academy. It's the same thing on Facebook, and we're working on IG.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much, Whitney. Thank you
Thank
so much, Whit, for
you.
being my special guest for the second time.
Can't wait for the
Listen, look, and it's coming, and it's coming. Just like I'm waiting on the third appearance at the Literacy Festival. I cannot wait.
March 22nd. March
March 22nd.
22nd. We got the date. March
Blocking off my
22nd.
calendar. Do you hear me?
20.
I'm blocking it with a steel outline,
Yes.
a steel
So on top
perimeter.
of
I got you.
everything else, we're working on that this month is when
Yes.
we're getting things in motion for that. So it'll be a busy
We may have
few.
to have two bridge buses. Now, come on now.
Right. 'Cause these people were exhausted. I felt so bad. They were just like, ugh. I was probably glad
Because
it
look,
was
they
over.
went from like even like at events that I see them at, they have to beg like people just bring them on the bus. Just bring. I bet them people was
Oh
like,
my
my
gosh.
God.
I
Oh
wish I would
my
have gotten a picture because it looked like the bus had been like ransacked. Like there
God.
were almost no books left on that bus when I got
And
up there.
that's the problem that I know that they love having. So they
Yes,
got it with you. So they
yes, they
got it.
were
They finally got
excited.
it with
They were
you.
excited. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So listen, we are going to wrap up episode 139. 139. Where am I going?
Well, it's
132 of the
it's
Jazzy. Look, I don't know where I'm going. Of the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast. You have just watched my special guest, Miss Whitney R. Sims. Make sure you support her with all of the online social media links that she has given you. Make sure you support her via her YouTube channel and definitely go to Ovation and Red Robin so that we can get her that $10,000 plus match that she needs. We cannot wait until we go and we see that ribbon cutting for
yeah.
your new facility as being a franchisee. So we are excited for you, and we here at the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast will support you in all of your efforts. And so, thank you so much for being my special guest.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. And thank you so much to my Jazzy crew for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, and IG. That's at Jazzy Conversations with Jazz. That's Jazzie. Conversations with Jazz. Make sure that you get your tickets now. Not now, but right now for the 3-year podcast anniversary live show. It's going to be an amazing event on November 9th from noon to 5 p.m. in Lakeland, Florida. Get your tickets on eventbrite.com. I cannot wait to see you there. We're going to have some past guests there, vendors, a live DJ, food trucks. The atmosphere is going to be amazing. I'm wearing yellow today because I'm asking all of my guests to come decked out in their personal style, but just give me a pop of yellow. It can be
Oh,
with a flower. It could be with the hat, your shoes, jewelry. Just give me a pop of yellow. I'm in my yellow mode right now.
okay.
The year 3 is for creativity, and I am just feeling the creativity with yellow. So I will see you November 9th. But until then, tune in every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on IG Live, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. I will see you next Monday. Remember, all gold diggers are welcome. That's GOAL diggers. Have a good night. See you later, Whit.
Bye.
Bye.